Alert! Alert! This is not a drill! Matt Mercer has just dropped an epic lore bomb. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. Join me today as we discuss the absolute crazy lore bombs that were dropped in last night's episode of Critical Role, Campaign 3, Episode 58, as our party ventured deeper into the ancient elven city of Melasmir, discovering secrets about themselves, as well as one lewdness to laugh. As always, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more Critical Role content, don't forget to check out my thoughts and reactions to the big announcement that was released from Critical Role earlier in this week. A new show and tabletop role-playing game in development, Candela Obscura. And let's just get right into the video, guys. So we last left off, we are with our split party in the ancient elven city of Melasmir. They have traveled from Uthadurn to Melasmir in search of ancient knowledge and potential knowledge of one lewdness to laugh, the current antagonist, leader of a cult of worshipping some kind of ancient evil space evil entity named Predathos, as they look to release it on the world of Exandria and potentially destroy the gods, creating for quite a calamitous situation, if you will. Where we last left off, our party was deep exploring Melasmir, the ancient city of the elves that was destroyed deep in the heart of the Savalier Woods, which is corrupted. We have learned that this corruption and the destruction of Melasmir was most likely caused by one lewdness to laugh, as he tried to do some strange Apathy Solstice shenanigans with this one entity, Predathos, but we're going to get more into that later in the video. Our episode begins with our party narrowly escaping a very deadly combat where Fern is eaten alive, almost dying, but they do manage to escape, and manage to escape with a strange little satchel. Once they've had a bit of respite, our party decide to investigate this satchel, which they discover, lo and behold, is a bag of holding. One, not just any bag of holding, but a bag of holding that seems to have belonged to one lewdness to laugh. They dump its contents out, getting a bunch of money as well as a magical staff, but more importantly are a series of notes that seem to be written by one lewdness to laugh themselves. The first set of notes are a set of blueprints as well as theories on potential divine magic, trying to experiment with divine magic to harness this magic, break it down, and then potentially use it or replicate it in a variety of theories. As well, we see some kind of a design for some blueprint, some strange harness that lewdness seems to use to harness magical power, specifically natural magical power. And there, as well, we find a location of a number of dryads and fae around Wildmount in Exandria. As well, there are notes about feeding the root. This seems to be some kind of sucking up natural magic within the harness. This is possibly how lewdness has lived for so long, possibly how he is so strong, or it is possibly the root on how he does these very large works of magic, as he is potentially, or it seems like, sucking up the magic from natural fae entities, storing it into his harness to use for however he likes. Our next cluster of notes is one that's a bit more interesting. These are notes over Ruidus itself. These seem to be early notes by lewdness in his kind of research and the beginning of his obsession with this ancient red moon. We, the audience, obviously know what lies inside the red moon, and we have an idea of exactly how this came to be. We assume that the gods took some earth from Exandria and created Ruidus, a prison for the ancient space evil creature Predathos, or whatever exactly Predathos is, because we really just don't know yet. Lewdness notes that the gods don't mention Ruidus at all. While they talk about facing evils and being faithful, they don't seem to mention anything about the nature of Ruidus of what itself. We see that Lewdness begins to speculate on exactly what Ruidus is. Like we said, we see the beginning of Lewdness's obsession here as he begins to talk about a communion ritual, one that he wants to enact during a flare of the red moon, hoping to possibly understand it more or reach out in his consciousness to whatever thing or being is in the red moon. We see that as well, priests continue to undermine his research back in the ancient days of Melasmir, but this does, obviously, we know, does not stop our man Lewdness, who very much wants to get to the bottom of what the gods are hiding from him. Now, obviously, we know a bit about Lewdness here. We know his hatred, or his seeming hatred for the gods, as he believes that the gods are trying to shackle mortals to a tenable level of power that he thinks that they should be able to overcome. He doesn't view the gods as really anything special, just some kind of beings that seem to gatekeep other mortals from this potential power. Obviously, we know Ludinus has a certain obsession with the Raven Queen, the matron of ravens, a former very powerful wizard that did manage to ascend to godhood long time ago in the age of Arcanum, thus setting off this huge chain reaction among wizards throughout all of Exandria trying to attain godhood, i.e. one Vespin Chloras. Finally, we make our way to the third batch of notes. This is when, once again, the Vespin Chloras similarities come a-knocking. Apparently, there is an ancient form of natural power that exists beneath the city of Minlasmere, some kind of ancient arcane crystals. They don't know exactly where they came from. People theorize that they were either gifts from the gods or possibly lost from Aeor in the Calamity or one of the other floating cities. Regardless of how they got there, what we do know is that these powers, these crystals, exhibit very strong natural arcane magical powers, and many believe that they could possibly utilize them for some kind of, well, magical purposes, if you will. We see notes from Ludinus on him trying to figure out exactly how to do this, how to focus this well of magical power, how to adjust it for his specific interest. It's been theorized that if the crystal well is focused through a design from Ludinus during a solstice, that he hopes he could channel this consciousness, this link between him and whatever entity is in Ruidus. Obviously, we know it's Predathos. And yeah, this seems to be the catalyst for the event that happened that destroyed Minlasmere. We know that the event that destroyed Minlasmere took place during an apogee solstice. We know that Ludinus seems to have tried this event during the apogee solstice, and if we can piece the dots together here, link the dots together, it seems very much that Ludinus, in his first attempt to contact Predathos on the apogee solstice, the event that eventually seemed to have led to the destruction of Minlasmere and the corruption of the Savalirwood, Wood, was a complete accident. This dude literally had no idea what he was doing and was tinkering with forces well beyond his power and his knowledge, and as such, he absolutely doomed some of his people and corrupted this massive area, this ancient area of Exandria. You see, the Vespin Chloras links are pretty strong with this one. It's very interesting to see this kind of egotistical fall of mages within Exandria, this hunger for power and for knowledge, and this willingness to destroy themselves and either the greater world to obtain some kind of power. This very much seems to be an overarching theme here ever since we got EXU Calamity. There's tons of links between Critical Role Campaign 3 and EXU Calamity, as EXU Calamity, it very much seemed to me like was preparing us for this grand event, this grand story that is Campaign 3, so it's been really fun seeing these links kind of come to light here. While this was the end of the lore we got from Ludinus' notes, the lore bombs did not stop here, as Frida once again implores the party to dive deeper into her memories, her ancient memories of Aeor, of events long past. We see Frida cutting down and killing a number of enemies. This does seem to be some kind of a civil war, some kind of a battle amongst Aeorians, possibly on the city of Aeor, and we see that Frida is fighting along the side of those who wish to use the Creator Hammer, the Factorum Malus. We hear shouts of people in her dream, protect the Factorum. Now, we know from information we've gotten through all of Campaign 3 as well as the EXU Calamity that Aeor was developing an ancient weapon, a potentially god-killing weapon, possibly harnessing the power of Predathos. We really just don't know yet. We do know enough that this weapon and its threat was taken credible, as during the Calamity, there was a ceasefire called between both gods, Prime and Betrayer, to destroy the city of Aeor. We know that this weapon, this god-killing device, was known as the Factorum Malus, or the Creator Hammer. We also know that Ludinus did repurpose this idea, this concept of this Factorum Malus, this Creator Hammer, into his Malleus Keys, the telescope-like structures that allowed him potentially to release Predathos and to bind Ruidus down into the kind of the air surface of Exandria. Big lore here, and it's very interesting to know that Frida herself was on Aeor when things went to as when Dee, years later, when Dee awoke Frida from her slumber, he actually had to repair her as she was basically destroyed completely. Finally, our episode ends as FCG communicates with the Changebringer once again, this time the Changebringer revealing herself to FCG in physical form, gargantuan physical form. Side note, I just love it whenever Matt describes interactions with gods. It's absolutely epic, and it makes for a very a very humbling experience, I imagine, as a player, when all of a sudden you're made to feel like this small, tiny little ant on a planet as a massive hulking entity, a god, stands before you. It's also interesting because this campaign has been the most kind of anti-god of any campaign. It's a theme that's really run through, and so it's interesting now seeing a faithful character as well as another faithful character in Diana who got in an interaction with the Dawnfather herself. It's very interesting seeing the relationship between gods and mortals play out during all of this insanity, as right now the gods have got to be freaking out as possibly their biggest threat, an entity that has known to be able to destroy gods long in the past, is now in the possibility of being released upon them. It seems that the gods are needing to rely on mortals now more than ever to stop their eventual possible destruction. And yeah, our episode ends as our party managed to teleport with a new staff that they acquired back in, hopefully at least, to the city of Drusar. It seems that next week we could finally have a re-merging of our group, finally having everyone back at the table together, possibly even our guest characters there as well, though it does ring some questions. What exactly happened to the other group that was left in Marquette during these multiple weeks of episodes that we've had with our group that has explored Wildmount and learned information about Ludinus's past? Are we just going to gloss over this, or is there going to be a series of episodes depicting the events that happened at this time with our other group? I guess really only time will tell. It is exciting though, finally we got some big lore and a lot of information that we kind of suspected and is now confirmed as Matt slowly begins to peel back the plot and all of this ancient lore and history layer by layer. Obviously, knowing Matt, all of this information that we're receiving about the past is going to be very important for the events of the future in Campaign 3, as it seems we constantly seem to loom larger and larger towards a major calamitous, potentially world-changing event. It does make me wonder what exactly the future holds for our campaign. If I had to guess, it's only going to be sadness and pain, and as I imagine things are going to get worse before they get better. I'm probably going to go back and watch some of these lore scenes again to make sure I didn't miss anything, as it's definitely going to be time to start developing some theories that are going to be happening on the future of Critical Role. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check some of our other Critical Role content, like my reactions and thoughts on Critical Role's newest show and the Critical Role team's newest tabletop RPG system, Candela Obscura, and what it means for D&D and the future of tabletop role-playing games. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, Adu.
Wasn't supposed to happen, so much talk around us. We became numb to the yapping. It was like 05, got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car, went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing. That night was ours. All the stars aligned.